Podcast.
Welcome back to KingWoes Court. We've got episode 15 coming back to you right now, and as you can see, I'm not fucking dead. I'm still here. Took a few weeks off doing the old podcast, and these poor bastards were meant to be with me the week of the fucking... It was the day before, actually, the heart attack. So I think I owe these guys a really good episode today. So it's great to see an old friend of mine, an old running buddy in the DJing days. With his new band. It's not new anymore to you, but it's new to a lot of people. And another familiar face down below me on my screen. And today we have Fraught. Am I right in saying it like that?
Yeah, indeed, yeah, spot on.
Thank you very much. Welcome to KingWoes Court.
Thanks a mil for having us.
You may
good
enter.
To see you well.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. You know, that's all I can say. I was excited to get on to just get back doing my podcast, because this is the only link I have to music at the minute.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you use. If you like, use are musicians. I'm not. You know, I'm a singer. That's nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, at the moment we're all just waiting.
Yeah. Like, you know, you can play your instruments, and I'm trying to play bass at the minute. But before Christmas, I left my basses up in my brother-in-law's for space, and I still haven't gotten them back yet. So I'm dying to get my basses back to try and play a bit of fucking music, you know yourself.
Yeah, get the creative juices going again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how's the form with you two boys? How are you keeping?
Well, good, yeah. I think the same as everybody else, just getting sick of lockdown and not being able to do very much in the music front, you know yourself.
Yeah.
Not being able to jam, not being able to meet up and get ideas flowing, so.
Yeah.
Where did you guys jam anyway, actually, before it's all kicked off?
We've got a kind of a room / lockup down in Phibsborough.
Whereabouts? Oh, is that the one with the gates that you press the number for, like on your phone?
No, I don't know if there's a formal name for it. Like, we just know it as the Jam Jar. But we used to rehearse there back with Wound Upon Wound and Morticnia, and we just kind of kept going there. I think Carl Levy usually kind of takes care of the place or runs it. So
takes care of the place, yeah. He's a fucking lunatic. Love you, Carl. Love you, really. So this is, as I was telling you just before we came on, I was going through like the family tree of the super group that we have here. It's like a super group. It really is, you know. You have members of Wound Upon Wound, Morticnia, Cold War, Gut Wrench, Warpath. That's you, Mark. That is you. And was it the Bogs of Akushnia? Is that it?
The Bogs of Agishka, yeah.
Agishka,
so our drummer drums with them as well. He's been drumming with them for a good couple of years.
So
now.
give me a rundown of the band anyway, because like as I said, you're doing a lot of pull, you know, a lot of this kind of stuff at the minute. But maybe some of my listeners or viewers may not have heard of you before. So fire away, tell me who's who and what they do.
Yeah, so I'm Dave. I'm the guitar player. We've also got Garode, who's the other guitar player. Podge, who's our drummer, and Andy, who's our bass player, and then Mark, our vocalist. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark. Yeah, I'm the vocalist, and that's about as much as I do.
Do you play any instruments at all yourself?
I play guitar and I play bass. I played guitar when I was playing in Gut Wrench, and I played bass when I was in Warpath. And when I was in Warpath, I ended up doing the backing vocals as well. Right, and that's kind of what I don't know, maybe put the spark into saying yes to the lads when they asked me. So
awesome. That's a very different,
how'd it go?
Very different style of vocals from Warpath, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but kind of went in just kind of trying it, you know, and seeing how it went. And yeah, when you're trying to kind of not to I don't know, like Warpath have their own sound, so I was trying to kind of sound what they wanted to do
I get you.
in their style. But when I went in to do it with Dave and the lads, they kind of had their it was open to kind of whatever style the music was. So I went in and kind of tried to do what I could for them, and sounds how it sounds, and that's it.
You nailed it. What I have to say, I'm only getting into. Dave, we would have talking about stuff like over the years. I wouldn't have never really been into really harsh vocals. You know, been an angel vocalist myself. You know, but like I'm in my later years, I'm really getting into that kind of stuff now. It's very intense. It's very aggressive. It's very, you know, there's something that's clicking with me now rather than when like 10 years, 15 years ago, whatever. You know, I think there's a greater emphasis now on. Not just having black metal. I'm not saying you're just black metal, but like having black metal, not even accessible to everybody. But it's, you know, people can fucking listen to it now. Do you know what I mean?
I think what we were going for with this was really to have kind of a big melting pot of all our different influences. So you know, as Mark was saying there, previous bands we've all been in have kind of a defined sound that, you know, people knew and people would always reference that sound for each band. Whereas this was more try and put it all together because we all liked things outside of, you know, the genres that we would have necessarily played. Like Cold War is very much a kind of a punk and death metal influence. Mortignia was very much a black metal influence. So for myself, they were the two things I brought in, and I know Mark brought in kind of the death metal, black metal, and then a good bit of sludge influence as well. The same with Andy. So it's kind of just melting everything together, and, you know, coming up with what we came up with was what we wanted to hear ourselves, rather than trying to say, oh, we wanted to sound like a black metal album or death metal album or whatever it was.
That's coming across in the music, you know what I mean? As in, there's equal amounts of the right stuff, I feel anyway, as a listener. Now, I had to listen to it 3 or 4 times today, over the course of the day, you know, and that's the kind of, there's little bits of riffs here, and I'm going, I like that.
I think that's good to hear, because like we always had an idea that, you know, we weren't going to just say we're an extreme band, so we're not going to play catchy riffs. Like we're all into music. We all like music for reasons that it sticks in your head, or you get something, you know, that you just really, really enjoy. So for us, it's always nice to have a little bit of that in the music as well, rather than being straight up technical or straight up, you know, say black metal, screechy, high pitched tremolo stuff. We want to have a bit of groove in it, and, you know, that's where the sludge comes in. Yeah,
I think people nowadays, they're onto you if you're not playing something you're happy with. If you're not enjoying it, they don't fucking know, you know what I mean?
100%, yeah. If you're not enjoying it, how the hell is anybody else supposed to enjoy it? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you know, and here's the thing: if you're talking about something, I don't know what I want to talk to you about lyrics at some point, Mark. But if you're singing about, you have to make it believe. You have to make people believe what you're singing, you know?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I feel anyway. Dave, you were in Wound Upon Wound many, many years ago when you had long hair.
That's it, yeah.
Do you miss those days?
I miss the crack of it all, and you know, when you're younger, there's a lot more freedom to do things with music and stuff like that. You know, when you get older, you've more responsibilities and more things to do and stuff like that. So yeah, I miss bits and pieces of it, but I think it was a great learning curve as well. Like I think me and Mark were saying before, like everybody starts somewhere when it comes to music and builds themselves up, and I definitely learned a lot from those days, you know. Even just being like starting out young and being at gigs with the likes of yourself and learning from tips and tricks that you'd hear from bands that you would have been in, or, you know, gigs you would have been running and things like that. So you build up all that knowledge over the years, like.
And I know, and Mark, it sounds like we're ignoring you, but I'm not. I swear to God, it's just I know him.
I'm happy to be quiet.
I don't believe that for a minute, Mark. I'm sorry, I do not believe it. But just before we go on, and it's just from me. You said to me, didn't you, that Dave, that you tried out for 2000 WoW?
A good few years ago.
I don't even remember.
I think now that was probably even before I played with Cold War. I came down and had one jam back when you were in, I think it was Vault Studios.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, that was going back probably 10 years ago.
Jesus, that shows you how long I'm playing fucking music. Jesus Christ. I just think that's a cool little link, you know. Like I always thought that was hilarious, you know. So I mean, so give us a little bit of how did the band get together? Like, you know, like were you all friends beforehand, or?
I think, well, obviously myself being kind of involved with the Wound Upon Wound, Mortignia and Cold War groups, like I know a lot of the lads through that, and I knew Mark then through him playing with Gut Wrench. We played a good number of gigs with them years ago, and then when he was in Warpath, we obviously played more gigs with them, and I think just like when we kind of finished up with Cold War, I still kind of, well, I suppose I spent a while not really playing much music, but then I kind of got the itch again and was trying to put something together. And myself and Podge always had kind of ideas of riffs we wanted to use that didn't necessarily fit in other groups. So we started to put something together. And through that, it was just basically like asking people I knew who'd be kind of interested and shared the same mindset. And then we thought the idea of asking Mark to the vocals would be good because we thought he'd be a good fit and have a good style that would go along with what we wanted to do. That, as we said, wasn't black metal or wasn't death metal. It was a bit of everything. So, yeah, it was kind of just a natural forming. And I think when we all got together and jammed, we all kind of had the same idea of, you know, let's just take this at our own pace, do things the way we want to do it, and, you know, not rush it. We'd all kind of been in bands before that, you know, you're dying to get your first gig and you're dying to get a release out there. Whereas I think we jammed for, what was it, Mark, about a year before we even did a first recording or a first gig or anything. So we just wanted to make sure we had everything lined up, ready to go. And like
it's a long year because all you want to do every time you write a song and you're happy with a song is, I'd love to play that live, and then you get 5 songs and you're like, oh, I'd love to play that live. I'd love to do a gig, and then you're like, there's a lockdown.
And that's something I was going to actually ask you. How, like, because you guys are obviously trying to actively promote a release during this. How's that going? Like, I mean, how hard is it? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's been hard enough. Like, obviously you can't do the usual gigging cycle and everything to try and promote it. And, you know, even the thing of getting your name on gig posters helps obviously promote everything you do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of changed, I suppose, to a much more digital means, like doing things like these podcasts and, you know, trying to get videos sorted out. Like, as we were chatting before this, we did a lyric video for one of the tracks because we couldn't meet up to do a sort of a band shoot type video or whatever. So that was the only available option, really. But it's just been hard. It's been relying a lot on people obviously listening to it and pass it on to their friends and you know, kind of word of mouth, which is good because if people are stuck at home and nothing to do, they have time to listen to music. So
seems to be getting a good lot of traction and a lot of good, you know, feedback, it seems, anyway.
Yeah, it seems so far so good. Like, we're pretty happy with it. Like, we've always kind of said as well, when we release something, we're not, you know, we don't hold any expectations really, other than as long as we're happy with it. So,
yeah,
you know, obviously it is nice to see people are enjoying it and things like that. But the main thing is that we wanted to be happy with the final product ourselves. So
exactly. And again, as I said, it brings it right back to what we were saying. You have to like what you're doing before people will like it. You know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you have to be enthusiastic about it as well. Like, if you're kind of talking, I'm in a band, you know, nobody's going to be interested in that. So, and
you'd wonder how fucking Oasis did so well, wouldn't you? The miserable cunts, like, you know what I mean? Sorry. So now here's what I can't understand. You have 2 record labels involved, is it? With Curse Monk and what's the second name?
Fomorian Hate.
Fomorian Hate.
Yeah.
So what's the deal there now, if you don't mind me asking?
So basically, just when we did the recording, we were looking at ways to put it out, and obviously with the pandemic, we were kind of saying what's the best way to cover as much ground as possible. So through, I think it was Instagram, someone reached out to me saying, "Oh, have you heard of this new label, Fomorian Hate? They're based in Cork and they do tapes." And obviously, with the black metal side of me, was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds interesting." Yeah. And not that I, you know, have any massive thing for tapes or, you know, CDs or one or the other or whatever. But I just thought the idea of releasing it on tape would be pretty cool. So I just contacted him. I sent him a couple of the songs and said, would you like to work with us? And thankfully he said yeah, and it was good to go. So that was kind of the tape side of it. And then with the CDs, we did our one and only gig to date. We did down in Cork with a band called Tombs. And they're on Curse Monk. So I was just chatting away to Alex from them. I just asked him what were Curse Monk like to work with. And he said, oh, they were fantastic because I think it just got an album coming out on them. So he said, look, send your stuff across to them and see if they like it and want to release it. So again, just sent it across, gave him a bit of info, and Roger's more than happy to work with us. So we just said, line it up, and we kind of discussed the idea of doing the tape with Fomorian Hate and the CD with Curse Monk, and they both said, yeah, that's a good idea. Covers more ground, gets more promo and things like that. So seems to have worked out well. Like, both have sold really well and have kind of reached different people, you know, which is obviously the ultimate goal.
It's a great way to have, like you said, more exposure with 2 labels or whatever, you know, kind of working together, like, which is nice. It's, you normally just see one kind of label or whatever, like, but to see the 2 of them, you've got every aspect kind of covered, you know, which is brilliant. It's great to see it. And I was just fascinated with how come there was 2, you know.
Yeah, it was just, as I said, to cover the most ground, and obviously in a time when you can't gig, it's crucial to kind of reach as many people as possible. And I knew from chatting to the guys from Maureen Hate that, you know, they kind of had a following already, purely because they were kind of an underground tape label. So we knew at least that would reach people that we wouldn't be able to reach ourselves if we wanted to self-release it. So we're just kind of building. Like we self-released the first EP back in 2019, and you know, that kind of was a good starting point, but we knew we needed to push this one further than the five of us could do ourselves. So
yeah. And what was I going to say to you? Drought was the original name of the band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about who's the original Drought? Tell me about it.
No, yeah, we started off obviously under the name Drought and did the first EP under that, but we found it was an Italian band that had released a black metal album, and they were called Drought as well. So we said, look, rather than going further down the path and having someone getting confused or, you know, getting mixed up between the two, we said, look, we'll change it now rather than later. So we just searched for as many names as we could that would kind of be a similar style and something easy to remember. So
that's another thing as well, isn't it? It's hard to pick a good name for a band, isn't it? One that sticks and one that doesn't sound cheesy. Do you know what I mean? I remember years ago when I had a band, I was in a band years ago called Atomic Drop, and I wanted to change the name of the band to Blue Devil. I don't know why, but you know, like, you know, believe it or not, every band I've been in, I've chosen the name, you know, and but yeah, I'm glad I didn't stick with Blue Devil. I do tell you that. You know,
it's hard to pick something different that nobody's thought of as well. You know. Even if you think you're onto a winner, you're like, oh Jesus, nothing on Wikipedia. Go on to Metal Archives and there's probably 50 bands with the same name. You're like, oh, fuck's sake.
Or you come up with something that you think is really cool and everyone else is looking at you going, is that all right? Like,
that's why I don't talk much.
You write it all down and you scream about it. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's basically it.
I when I picked Details as well, I don't know why I picked. Well, initially it was going to be two. It was only a side project and it was only meant to be two stories of sad. Like, it was only going to be two releases, you know. Now I know we're like nearly 20 years gone and I still only have 2 or 3 anyway. But like, there is actually a band called Tales of Woe. You know, it's like a kind of an acoustic type thing, and I'm like, you know, I'm glad I put the 2 before now.
Yeah. No, I don't think people would get confused between an acoustic act and yourselves, but
absolutely not.
Yeah. Whereas we ran the risk of getting confused between ourselves and the other black metal bands, so we said, look, we'll change it.
Yeah, I know. I like it. And I was letting it settle with me today, and because like when I'm doing a podcast with a band, and especially when I'm like, obviously I know you, Dave, and I know of you, Mark, in fairness, and you know, when I'm getting familiar with a new band, I like to listen to them. I like to keep the whole day free and kind of, you know, listen to them all day. So like, I was like, Fraught. Yeah, I like that, you know. So,
I think it also encapsulates a lot of the kind of themes that we deal with in the lyrics. Like, even when we were saying it, the first phrase that someone said was, "Oh, fraught with danger." We we're kind of like, "Oh, well, at least people get the kind of negative side of it too." So
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's what. Like, let's be honest. Like, negative music has its place in music, in life, because there's so much fucking happy music out there. I mean, have you guys ever tried to write a happy song?
I don't think I know what a happy song sounds like.
No. I tried to write a happy song once with my other band, the Sacred Blues Band, which is like a French bluegrass country type thing. It's great. I love it. It's the total opposite of Two Tales of Woe. But now, I'm not going to tell you this stuff, but the one time I tried to write lyrics for a happy song, it ended up being about anal sex.
I won't ask any more questions.
I'll tell you later on, but like, yeah, I was like, no, and I know I wasn't the singer. It was a lovely French girl. Mel is her name. She's a lovely singer. I was like, I can't ask her to sing that. No way. So that was my one and only time I tried to write proper, like, nice lyrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it might fit with your music. Actually, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Mark might already have a song written about that. So.
Oh no, I'm not turning into a fucking porno gore grind band anytime soon.
Oh God. Oh, that's all we need in this country, isn't it? Listen, where did you record? And I do know the answers to all this, obviously, but I'm just asking it. Like,
yeah, we did the new one we did up in Hellfire, up in the Dublin mountains. So we kind of we wanted to do something different, because obviously with this one we wanted to really get a unique kind of sound for ourselves and kind of make a name and a sound for this band. So we said like we'd try something new and try a new engineer and everything, because usually we would have gone to track mix for the first one, and a lot of bands go for that. And I think for the first release for us, that suited us quite nicely, like, and the sound that we got was good for the first release. But for this we wanted to try something a bit different and a bit more in that kind of sludgy feel, so we knew we wanted to do it all live, and we knew we wanted to have it a bit more kind of raw production on it. So we just looked around, and I can't actually remember who saw Hellfire, but I know Andy, our bass player, he knew Ivan, who's one of the engineers up there, and I think he'd recorded one of the Slave Zero albums back in the day. Okay. So Andy just mentioned his name and says, "Oh, I think he works up in that Hellfire studio, so you should give him a shout." So we just went up, we had a look around the place, and we just thought like the studio itself was incredible. Like, they'd loads of different rooms all set up with different acoustics and stuff like that. They've got really good analog gear and everything. So we just said to him, "Look, have you done much metal stuff?" And he kind of said, he'd done the Slave Zero things a couple of years ago, but hadn't really done much in more recent times. So we kind of said, right, we'll give it a go then, because we thought it would put a unique kind of twist on it, not getting the stereotypical kind of metal sound or production or whatever. So I think it worked out well. Like, I think we definitely captured a lot more of the kind of the natural sound of the band because we did it all live. So it has a rawer feel, a slightly less produced feel, but that's what we wanted with this music, because the energy carries across a lot more. So
and everything was, as you say, everything was done live.
Yeah, except the vocals were done at the end.
Yeah, that's
for keeping everything kind of clean and.
Yeah, I mean, it would be extremely difficult, I'd say, Mark, to do a live recording and have it perfect. Well, not perfect, but in fairness, the vocals were still done largely live as well. Like, they weren't done obviously at the same time, but they were mostly one takes, and just kind of a go through the song, have a take, see what you think of it. Like, there's very little kind of drop-ins or edits or anything on the vocals even, because again, we wanted to kind of keep that overall live sound to it, and you kind of lose that if you go back and sing the same line 20 times. Absolutely. Good old one take, bro, if you what? Get up there with that. It's like me. These call me one take, with our recordings. Yeah, I don't work by the clock. I work by just get in and get out,
Yeah.
So that's a great. I would love that experience of recording in somewhere like that. Actually, it's something.
You should definitely check out the studio. Like, it's worth even getting in contact with Ivan and asking him to go up and have a look at the place. I think Koskra are up there at the moment doing an album. I just saw a couple of posts about it, so cool. I don't know if they got the idea from seeing that we were there or whether they just knew about it themselves. But I think it's definitely going to be a place a lot more bands are trying out anyway, because, as I said, the rooms and everything are fantastic, and the guys are great to work with. Like, it was much more.
The area man, it's just so cool, and the lads are they really are fantastic. They're so accommodating. Place is so class. Like, it's just deadly, really cool.
How did it feel, Mark, for you to be transitioning from someone with an actual instrument to a vocalist on a recording? How did that feel?
Yeah, it was definitely different, but it felt comfortable. But the initial kind of, like, not having, even playing the first gig, not having an instrument in front of me, playing on stage, and you're kind of like, oh, this is this is different. But no, yeah, it's just different, but yeah, equally as comfortable as playing. You're still doing something on stage anyway, or whether it's on stage or recording, you just have to go for it, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's good, man. It's good fun. I enjoy doing vocals more so than probably playing an instrument, to be honest with you. Yeah,
I'd have to agree with you there as well. I love just being a vocalist, and don't get me wrong, there's times I'd love that kind of security of an instrument in my hands, but
yeah,
I still wouldn't change the way I am for the world, and you're probably the same now, Mark.
Yeah. No, it's like a little, like, I don't know, play more at gigs as like just doing vocals. I know, but when you're on stage with the guitar in front of you, kind of playing guitar, and you can headbang while you're doing it. You're standing there on stage, kind of you either grab the mic stand or you just kind of look around and go, okay.
What do I do with my hands?
What do I do with these things? Yeah, grab the mic stand and headbang probably, but no, it's good fun, and just can't wait to play more gigs. Really, like everybody else in the world at the moment who's in a band, I just can't wait to play more gigs. And
can you imagine how, like, and here's hoping, first of all, that our little scene hasn't totally fucking collapsed at that stage. First of all. Second of all, I hope everyone kind of, this is probably going to sound real romantic or whatever, but I hope everyone kind of says, well, fuck it, if we want to play with yous, fuck it, we'll just play. And, you know, everybody just gets back into a real sense of getting out there and playing together, you know?
Absolutely.
I think that's definitely the idea that we want to have when we get back to it, like, is, you know, absolutely. Just let's get things back to a place where we can have gigs again, and then we'll see what we can do. But like, as soon as something's available, we want to be able to set stuff up and, you know, just start putting bills together. Like we'd one gig booked, and I think it was in May, so it was just kind of when the real tight lockdown restrictions came in, and we were saying, like, I said a message to the guys on the bill and just said, look, I don't think this is going to happen. So, like, we at that point we were saying we push it out till September, thinking, you know, it'll all be done and dusted by then. But like I said to them, look, I want to keep you all on the same bill when things do come back, because, you know, this is still what I want to do. I wasn't just doing this because it suited. I'm doing it because this is the lineup I want to see, and you know, we'll still keep it there when we come back. So it's just trying to put that stuff together again when we can host gigs and stuff.
I just hope, and you know, and people will probably agree with me on this. I don't know, but I really hope Fibbers doesn't go under, you know, because it's great for gigs, man. You know, it really is.
Well, I think like they did open back up for a while there in some capacity during the break in the lockdowns, like when outdoor dining and stuff was allowed again. So hopefully they've been keeping afloat with that.
Fingers crossed, you know. So the Irish scene, give us a few bands that you like on the Irish scene.
As I said earlier, Tombs are one of the ones that I've been checking out a lot of recently. Because as we did the first gig with them, and they were right up my street in terms of a mix between kind of, I don't know, sludge and grindcore or something like that. So I've been enjoying them a lot.
Mark?
I'd say Tombs are absolute definitely. They have that, as Dave said, sludge sound that's just like, it's amazing. And then Killface, they have that fast trash kind of.
Are they still going?
I don't know, man, as much as anybody else is going at this stage. But I gave, for the first time, and I'm embarrassed because, as I've probably said before, I don't really listen to a lot of new music, and they're not new at all. But I was sent to Dave last night and I said, what the fuck? How have I never listened to these before? But I gave Zora a go last night, and
the real deal, isn't it?
Sweet Jesus.
The real deal.
I can't put my finger on where the gig was, and I have it in my head that it was down in Clare that they played, but I'm not sure if it was that I played at the Meter is Wound or Mortignia, and I just remember being blown away by the live show. I just thought it was class. Like, it was just so high energy, and like it was one of the bands that stood out for me anyway. So when Mark texted me last night, it was like, I knew you'd like them.
They're fucking amazing. They're amazing, and I wouldn't mind I think 2 times we've played, 2 or 3 times we've played with them, we've had to follow them. I'm like, fuck. How the fuck are we gonna follow them? And then you just fucking have to give it your socks then. But I love bands like that are that good that you're like, oh, here we go, But and they're mad bastards as well.
I think did they play the Wacken battle thing? And I think they played at Wacken, and the live video from that is class as well. It's really good.
They've played Wacken and the Bloodstock as well now.
Oh, okay. As
far as I know. Yeah. But the fucking, I tell you, they're some musicians, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
They really are.
It's great to see them getting recognition outside of the country as well, not just, you know, within our own kind of scene, but seeing them over in the UK and the likes of Wacken and stuff. It's great.
Would you guys have much of a desire to play in the UK and all that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, like as we were only saying, like myself and Mark were saying, we play anywhere at this stage. But it just depends on what capacity things come back, and like the UK, I think will be a bit difficult now with the whole Brexit situation and stuff. So, I'll play anywhere. I wouldn't rule anywhere out, but you know, it just depends on what's available. Like with with the coronavirus thing, I was saying before, like there's no plans to do it just yet because none of us can really afford to go away, play one weekend gig, come back and spend 2 weeks quarantining or whatever. So at the moment, there's probably nothing on the table, but definitely in the future, it's the first thing we want to do when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think you guys would do well on the road. You know,
like we're all used to doing, you know, tours here and there and stuff, so I think we'd be well versed for that sort of thing. It's just being able to do it and getting ourselves together. Like we've all got full-time jobs, so trying to get the same time off to get a week, you know, in a different country is challenging. But
it's not easy. And then when you have kids as well, like it's
it's a whole different game then.
Absolutely.
I'll play a festival, no tours, just festivals.
Well, we'll send that email off for you. See what the.
Oh yeah, thanks, man.
And they have to be before 7 o'clock because you have to be back with the kids in bed.
So yeah, that'd be it'd be nice to see us doing something kind of outside the country at some point. It really would.
Yeah, hopefully. Like it's on the to-do list once we can.
Is there any big bands you would like to play with in this band? Just as fans type thing, you know what I mean?
I'd love to see them again, but I'd love to see or play with Ulcerate. I caught them in the Grand Social a couple of years ago and they were brilliant. They'd be definitely high on my list of favourites.
Mark?
Probably the last one that absolutely blew me away, and was every time I listened to it was probably just Dragged into Sunlight. I feel like I'm just telling myself that all the time. It's just shut up, Mark. Just Dragged into Sunlight. Shut up. But like, amazing band. What witness live, amazing to listen with. You imagine, amazing to listen to in general. But amazing. I say they're amazing.
I think they're amazing. Yeah, no, some good bands there actually, and that'll be an interesting lineup.
I think there's obviously all the big bands, you know, that everyone would love to tour with, Cannibal Corpse, Mayhem, all that. But like,
yeah, that's exactly where I'm coming from with that. Anyway,
Mark, I said I wanted to talk to you about lyrical content. Tell me is there a theme? Is there a theme going on there in the EP, or are they all separates, or do you know what I'm saying?
I wrote them in a way that they all kind of ran into each other, and they all have something to do with a specific subject, and they do have a theme. And if I were to go into it, I won't go into it, but they do have a specific thing. Yeah, but
I always like to know how lyricists write their lyrics, you know, because it's always interesting, you know.
Yeah. No, it's just full of your lovely misery, doom and gloom, and lots of that good stuff. And
was that your first time kind of doing in this band, writing lyrics?
Lyrics and vocals in this band, yeah, definitely, yeah. Besides the two other songs we had recorded previously to this piece, but it's my first time doing full lyrics and vocals in a band, and
fair play.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm enjoying it anyway. You know,
good.
A lot less stress. Fine for some reason, and it's good to write something down and shout it out loud, and
it's therapy, isn't it? It's therapeutic. It really is.
It really is. Yeah, leaving the jam room going, Jesus, that was great.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I meant when I said that there's a place for negative music and negative lyrics. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like therapy. For me, it is. Anyway.
Negativity and leaving positive. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's funny that a lot of people mention that around kind of like metal music and all that being such an angry type of music. Like, I don't think, obviously, you've got the extreme black metal group that are, you know, all evil and don't want to ever smile. But like, I mean, I don't think we approach it like that. We approach it like we just write the music. It's what we want to hear. And, you know, it might come from a dark place or dark experiences. But I think generally we don't sit in a dark room crying to ourselves or, you know, punching holes in walls. We're not that type of people. It's just the music just comes out as that's what we like to hear.
And that's it. Like, you know, you aren't in Norway planning on burning churches or anything, like, you know.
The stress of that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I remember though someone saying, like, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere, they'd linked I think it was like an Eric Clapton song or something, and said, "Oh, this song encapsulates so much sadness in a musical sense, like the way he plays the guitar and all this stuff."
No.
And like, well, I mean, I appreciate that someone can take an emotion from a song, and for us, like, that emotion just happens to be, you know, anger or aggression or you know, like a dark, I don't want to say depressing, but like, you know, they're themes and emotions that people sometimes are afraid to deal with, and if you can do it in a way that actually doesn't negatively impact you, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah, fair play, and that's exactly what you know. And when you can hit that sweet spot, and I don't mean that to sound like a kind of like a marketing thing. I don't. But when you can hit that sweet spot between the right music and the right words,
Yeah,
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be able to write something and trying to make it kind of be in a way abstract, but when you read it back to yourself, you're kind of a bit confused when you read it the next day, but you're like, oh, actually, I know what I meant by that, and I know what I meant by that. But yeah, no, it's definitely interesting writing lyrics and kind of putting everything down on a page and seeing it back, and yeah, it's nice to have this different view and approach and perspective in about it's class. Yeah.
Dave, does it sound-wise, sonically, only a tiny little bit? I get a little bit of a Celtic Frost vibe off the guitars. Would you agree with me there, or a little bit maybe?
Yeah, I suppose like they would have been a band that I would have kind of written a lot of stuff around in previous bands and stuff like that. So it obviously carries over. Like their album Monotheist actually, I think is an absolutely fantastic album.
That's the one. That's one of my favorite albums. Like.
Yeah, no, I that for me now. When I heard that years ago, I just thought that was class, and I loved how the simplicity of it was heavy.
Yeah.
So like we definitely have elements of that, that have woven its way into the sound. Like the track "Empty Vessel," I suppose the start of that is, it's simple but it's heavy in the simplicity as well. So there's definitely undertones of it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great thing. And I meant that as a compliment, obviously. Like what tuning are you in, Dave?
B standard.
Is that for all tracks, or are you going lower for anything else?
No, that's all the tracks at the moment.
Fair play.
We may drop it down lower for something in the future, but at the moment, that's where everything lives.
You're pretty low down as for now. I reckon you're okay for now.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of key defining piece that gives us that sludge sound. A lot of the black metal stuff was traditionally kind of E or D standard or something. So, the Carcass influence of B was heavy on this one.
Nothing wrong with that, is it either? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sorry. I wanted to say before I'm going to wrap it up in a few minutes. It's been fantastic talking to you, and hopefully we can do it again. Sooner rather than later, or hopefully we'll play a gig together. Maybe, who knows?
So I was going to say, hopefully it's an in-person.
Yes.
Chinwag the next time.
Dave, there's always an open invitation to my house for you. And Mark, you don't even live that far from me. You don't.
Probably not.
We won't. We won't say anything else about that. But before we do go, right, give us some of the bands, some of the albums you're listening to now at the minute. Just what are you listening to at the minute?
Go on, Mark. Say Drag the Sunlight again.
Apart from Drag the Sunlight, Dragged into Sunlight.
I suppose for me, I'd be big into Drag the Sunlight as well. I've been going back and listening to a lot of Mayhem as well recently. And I think we're all fairly in. I don't know if you've heard of Car Bomb, but we're all fairly
heard of them.
Yeah, listen to a good bit of that myself. I think the other lads would be kind of the same boat. Yeah, the Ulcerate stuff is still heavy rotation here.
Yeah,
I think what I'm trying to do is, I suppose, put in a bit more of the weirder influence into our stuff. Like, as I said before, we were kind of all influenced by different things, but trying to find the weirder aspects of it and put little bits of it here and there. We don't want to turn into like a tech death band or anything, but just a little sprinkling.
There's enough tech death bands out there. Really,
just about trying new things. Really, like when we're kind of writing songs, we're not afraid to come up with an idea, and someone will say, "Oh, that sounds a bit strange." It's like, yeah, we haven't tried it before, so let's just give it a go and see if it works.
Yeah,
like picking a band name, isn't it?
Exactly. Everything comes back to it. It really does.
Oh, yeah. What does that sound like? Oh, that sounds a bit familiar. Shut up, you're out of hand.
That nearly happened to me before, actually, in my own band. So we're gonna finish up now, and I'm gonna play one of their tracks of the EP at the very end, which was the one you did the lyric video for. What's it called again, there, lads? Fracture. Yeah. And of course, the EP is called Splitting Tongues. It's a cool name. I like that, by the way. Mark, did you come up with that?
No, that was a collective effort.
I think it was
Actually,
taken
it's
from,
actually in,
it was taken from the lyrics.
it's in one of the lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice. It's sharp, you know. I like it.
Sharp one.
Oh, before we go, actually, who did the artwork? Sorry.
That was my Mrs. Sarah.
How are you, Sarah?
She can't hear you. She's downstairs.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's very cool.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. She does a lot of that type of stuff. She has an Instagram page which is Black Fever Art, and yeah, she does a lot of jewelry. She does a lot of everything. She's a very, very creative woman, and I picked her brain, and we came down to look at the lyrics I'd written down on everything, and we went through the kind of theme of the whole thing and gave her an idea, and then she had a better idea than I did, and she came back to the image as she does. And yeah, it was amazing. Sent it on to the lads, and everyone gave it a thumbs up, so we went with that.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like it.
And there was a good few pieces that she's done that I think we were all really impressed by, and would have been happy to use. We've been lucky to get her involved. I think that's one of the other things that we've always said with this is we want to try and keep as much of this personal to the band as we can, whether it's art or merchandise, stuff like that. Like, it just adds that extra little element, even subconsciously, when you have someone that's tied into the music as closely as she would be. Just good to have them involved. They know the stuff really well. So
nice to be able to tell her what the lyrics are actually about, so she can really get in there.
Everything she draws means something.
Every line.
Can I use that?
Would you use some of her stuff for merchandise, T-shirts and the like?
Hopefully, yeah. Like, the plan is to obviously do some merch to support the EP. So there'll probably be some flavor of the album or the EP cover on it. But yeah, we haven't gone too far into other ideas for merch and stuff, but we do have some kind of ideas at a high level what we want to do. So
yeah,
while we were just planning that out. And
well, can I make one request, if that's all right? And I always say it to bands. I normally say it off camera. We're going to say it now. Will you make Fat Bastard sizes, please?
I need one for myself as well.
You took the word out of my mouth.
What? Make Fat Bastard sizes for me? Thanks.
From me. This lockdown has not been kind.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. Yeah, so that's great. Before we go, tell me everywhere you are at, so we can tell people where to go and buy stuff.
Facebook, Bandcamp, for the band, Instagram as well, and then obviously all the music is available through Bandcamp from the band directly, or you can buy it from Orion Hate if you're looking for. I think there's a small few tapes, maybe one or two left, and then there's a couple of CDs left at Curse Monk as well if you want to pick up a CD. Awesome,
that's great. As I said, I'll link all that stuff in the description for this later on.
It's streaming everywhere as well. Yeah. Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all those usual places.
Awesome, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for coming to my return show. You were gentle with me, thankfully.
No, thanks for having us. It's good to see you back.
Glad to be a part of it, man. Thanks very much for having us. Glad you're okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, anyway, listen, that was Fraught, and we're going to listen to, what's the song again?
Fracture.
I'm testing you, not me. And as I said, boy, this CP is fucking awesome. I'm really, really impressed with it, I have to say. So have a listen to this, and then, as I said, click on those links and buy this shit. For now, KingWoes Court is out of here.